Gospel according to Matthew. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with them. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, Rise, and do not be afraid. And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. The Church of the Transfiguration is among my favorite places in the Holy Land, and it kind of fits a lot of the things we've discussed so far as the dichotomies that are there, because the road that goes up to the top of Mount Tabor is this very narrow, winding road that you can only have small vehicles on. So you'd have these busloads of people who get out at the base of the mountain, and so you have all the gift shops and you have all the kind of chaos of a pilgrimage site at the bottom. And then you get into a car and you're driven to the top, where it's this beautiful church and a Franciscan monastery, and you're on top of the mountain. You have the fresh breezes, you get these panoramic views of the whole valley around there, and it's this place of kind of quiet meditation. And then at the end of it, you get back in your car and you go back down to where all the buses and the gift shops and everything else are. So you really had this sense of being taken to a place away. And when I was there the first time, it was August 6th, so it was the Feast of the Transfiguration. And what was unique about that, and what's always stuck in my head about that, is the architect who designed the church designed it so that the light shining in from the back door would illuminate the mosaic at its most brightest point on August 6th, so that you're here in this beautiful church and the mosaic was about as, which shows Christ in glory, was about as lit up as it can get from natural light, and this sense of really being transported to a different place for a little bit. And you enjoy the fresh breezes and the glory and the beautiful sight, and then you kind of have to come down again, and you enter back into your bus and you go to the next place with the next little bit of chaos. And there's something beautiful about that Feast of the Transfiguration that takes place the second Sunday of Lent, or the memorial of the Transfiguration, which takes place on the second Sunday in Lent, in which we're invited with the disciples to have this respite, to encourage us, to strengthen us, to give us that courage to follow Christ all the way through to glory. And we need those. We need that place away, and we need to also come back down off of it as well.
Our tour guide was so excited that we were there that day.
He was.
He was taking pictures. He was doing the whole thing. Oh, it was great. Because it really was just this beautiful architectural concept, or this very intentional thing to be able to offer that brilliance on the day. But it for me too, it's just this reminder during Lent that is another reason I think why we celebrate when we do. Just this reminder of our own transfiguration and how we're aiming towards something better. We're aiming towards something more. This glorification that the apostles Peter, James, and John get to witness in those moments is something that we strive toward. To be transfigured in our own way, to be transformed, to get better, and to move toward that. Now we know we're never getting there on our own. We know it's God and not us. And yet we strive and we do that. And the Lenten season kind of gives us that chance, right? That's why we give stuff up, or we take things on, or we offer these 40 days in some special way to offer just that little bit more, so we can be that little bit closer and to experience that as those apostles did.
If Father Lerner ever has a chance to go, they're going to be one of the great challenges of his life for a run. It's all these hairpin turns all the way up 2,600 feet. But if anyone could do it, it's probably you, Father. But it was also one of my highlights of the trip. It's in the Gospel of Mark. It's the 16 chapters, we all know. It's the shortest of all the Gospels. The first 8 chapters are in Galilee. and the last 8 chapters are Jerusalem and on the way to Jerusalem. So the Transfiguration is at the beginning of chapter 9. And it's his last journey to Jerusalem. And every life, it was a meditation that I read one time. Every life has its ups and downs. Every life has its joys and sorrows, its sickness and its health. Every life has Galilee, and every life has Jerusalem. And so it's this pivotal point. And in the Gospel of Mark, it's 3 predictions of Christ's own crucifixion. One just before he climbs, one after he's down, and the third one just as he's going up to Jerusalem for the last time. So I think this pivotal point in Christ's life is probably a pivotal life in the life of all of us too. When we come to that deeper walk, that deeper relationship with Christ, the Galilees of our lives, the Jerusalems of our lives, and maybe this Lenten meditation that we're doing right now makes us think of and appreciate where we are right now. Are we in Galilee? Are things going well? Or is there maybe a little bit of a crucifixion and a suffering going on right now? But every life has both.
I had not run up to the Mount of the Transfiguration. I did walk down with some of the guys who were with us on our trip, and similar experience. Just how beautiful it was that day, and how the beautiful church, the views, the wind. There was even this beautiful Italian family having a picnic lunch up there. It was just the place was immaculate. But then the walk down is a long walk, and when I hear that gospel, it's one of these key moments in the gospel. Having been to the Holy Land, when you hear it, you're there, and that whole exchange between the disciples witnessing this and how they were on one hand so excited but also terrified, and Peter just like, let's stay up here, let's pitch tents, to stay here forever, and then all of a sudden it's just Jesus. The glory is, you don't see the glory anymore. That last line there is, and it was just Jesus. And then after that, they walk back down, and it was a long walk. And I just imagine, I always think of just the awkwardness of that long, awkward silence with that long walk back down into the chaos. And in the gospel, the next thing that happens is the healing of the young man struggling with a demon, and the disciples unable to.
Why can't we do it? Why can't we do it?
The disciples, they can't do it because they can't pray, or they haven't prayed. The scribes standing on and being critical and all this stuff that just having this mountaintop experience, the long walk back down into reality, or sometimes just a plunging back down into reality, and not. And having to make it, but remembering that you're with Jesus, even though sometimes do we have that feeling where it's like it's just Jesus, is that enough?
An additional meditation on this, just like was said, just before he goes up, he makes his first prediction of his crucifixion, and after he comes down, the miracle at Nain of the boy, what's the first thing that he does? He's about to announce it the second time his crucifixion. What's the first thing he does? He heals. So even in the struggles of our life, it's a great example to us. Sometimes in our own suffering and cross, we, as Christ did, rose above it and still lived, still stayed faithful. I think it's an important message for us, because sometimes when things are going great, the Galilees of our life, the peaceful moments, it's easy to be faithful. But in the struggles of life, on the way to Jerusalem, whatever that is for us, it's sometimes hard. I think it's a great example for all of us to remain faithful as best we can through the struggles and sorrows of life as well. Because sometimes, as we all know, through the cross, we hold on tighter, and sometimes with the cross, we have a tendency to move away, hopefully for only a short time if that happens. But it's a good example of following Jesus in that respect.